For my first race, I remember I was practicing. I was going into this first corner and this young kid hit me from behind and I went off into the wall, crashed into these big tires, hit my head on the steering wheel, nose was bleeding, car was busted. I remember my dad like running and I remember him arriving just terrified. Are you okay? Are you okay? And I was like, can you fix the car for the race? That's all I was concerned with. It's like, 'cause I still wanted to race and we had a race to win. And the next day we won the race. That was my first race. We kind of never looked back from then. I have a very close relationship with failure. And the reason for it is I've failed more times than I can remember. But the lessons that I've learned through those failures have ultimately ended out with me having success. This character building is where I hone in on my strengths or where I build strength. It's those difficult times where you think, am I not good enough? Should I stop? Now, I've made sometimes the same mistake multiple times, but that's okay, because eventually, through trial and error, I don't make those mistakes anymore. Failure, in my opinion, failure is 100% necessary for greatness. To achieve greatness, to have that success, you've got to fail as many times as possible. So don't shy away from it and don't take it as a negative. Every single successful person who's achieved great things, whether it's climbing Mount Everest, whether it's getting to the top of a company, whether it's being the best athlete possible, they've all failed more times than they'll be able to remember. But through those lessons that they've learned through those failures, that's how they've become great. No one's been great from the get-go and then just being great. That's except for Superman, because he was just born great. So just know that that is a part of the journey, and whatever failures you have are only going to make you stronger. When I first got to cars, I was progressing from go-karts to cars. It's a big, big step. Really exciting, because it was the first time I'm going to have a car that looks like a Formula One car. And if this step goes right, I might be on my way to getting to Formula One. This is where all the other greats have been through this process, so this is the way. And as soon as I got there, I was crashing all the time. Crashing, finishing far down the grid. I wasn't winning the races. I couldn't keep up with the other guys because every time I tried to eke out more performance, I would crash. So it was really hard to get to the limit. My confidence was really shot. There was a moment where me and my dad, we arrived home. We were sat in front of the garage in the car, and we didn't get out for 5 or 10 minutes. And in that moment, I thought my career was over. We were both like, maybe you're just not built for this. Maybe this is not what you're meant to be doing. And there was so many questions that were only leading in a bad direction. And I remember we got out the car, I went up to my room and I didn't come down for dinner. I stayed in my room thinking about what exactly it is that I wanted and where did I want to be. And I just reminding myself of what my goal is and what I'm willing to sacrifice to get there. And the next morning I woke up early. I went for the longest run that I'd ever done. And again, I'd always limited the runs. I'd, go a certain distance. This time I set a really long distance for myself. I got back and I felt physically that I could keep going, but I just reached my house. And I remember calling my stepmom, Linda. I was like, can you just take me? Can we go out in the car? Can I just take you on this where I went? So we did this because I didn't know how far I'd run. It ended up being like 13, 14 miles or something like that. And through that process, I was like, I know I can do this. I went to the next race and slowly I stopped crashing, and then I won the championship. But it was tough to push through to get over that barrier. The easiest thing to do is to give up. It's the absolute easiest thing to do. The hardest thing is confronting your fears and confronting the difficult challenge that's in front of you. Nothing worthwhile is ever easy. And so deal with it. You know, you can. It's telling yourself you can. I don't think you should put yourself in a position where success is always guaranteed. If it's easy, then everyone will do it. And if it's easy, then it's like if you go on a training bike and you've got it in the first gear and you're not getting any resistance. There's no like feedback. It's easy. You're not challenging yourself. I think you've got to set goals and targets that you can almost think that, geez, that's not possible. How am I going to get there? And then you go through that process of working towards it. I think the harder the task, the harder the challenge, the stronger you need to be in order to get it. So I would always say set yourself goals that are almost impossible, right? Just think about, they said we'll never go to the moon, and that seems pretty impossible, but it was made possible. Evaluating where you've been, the mistakes you've done, I think is crucial to achieving your goals. I try to sometimes watch the replays of races. I think a lot about where I've gone wrong. And even still today, after all these years, of 28 years, I still feel the pain. But I know that it's a part of the process. And one thing that really struck me was I was really fortunate to meet Nelson Mandela on his 90th birthday. One of the questions that I asked him was, you know, what advice could you give me? And he said, I'm still learning to this date. So I was like, oh, I've got a lot to learn. But it encouraged me to know that I'm always going to be learning, and it's okay you're always going to be learning something new. So don't shy away from it. Don't shy away from failure. Don't set yourself goals that are easy to achieve. If you go and do a training session and it's easy, then you're not really challenging yourself. Start taking the things that are challenging, that are hard, because that's how you grow strength and that's how you build. Dealing with failure has definitely evolved. I've evolved in how I'm able to utilize those experiences to harness the power and be greater from it. For example, there was this race I had in Japan in my second year. I started first and I made a mistake. Straight after the start at turn 1, I finished 13th. It was a disaster. At the time, I couldn't handle the loss, the failure, the embarrassment. So many people in my team relied on me. There's almost 2,000 people in my team. They all relied on me to do the job. They've done their job, they brought their game, and I failed. I didn't leave my hotel room for 3 days. Through that time, I was talking to myself. I was trying to get myself out of that rut, because nothing's worth having that anger. You've got to find a way to get it out. And so I put it into training. I says, I'm going to train. I'm going to make sure. I wrote down those things that I did wrong. And I was like, I'm never going to make that mistake again. And I haven't. That was 15 years ago. I turned that energy into positive energy. I got fitter. I got better prepared. I went to the next race 5 days later, and I won. But the gist of the story is, you know, that I've evolved in how I've had those losses over time, where it could take me days or even a week that I'm thinking about that failure, and it's dragging you down. It's just stopping you from progressing. So I soon learned what happened 5, 10 minutes, 2 days ago. I can't do anything about that. Write down how it went, why you think those things happened, and then how you tackle those to make sure it doesn't happen again in the future. And for me, it would be how I apply myself in my training. It's the time that how much time I'm willing to sacrifice. It's trying to find that balance so I have energy when I come. It's preparation when I get it to the track, how I stretch. It's things you can learn like meditation or how you can be most centered before you get in the car. And I've found a way now, regardless of what I've experienced, to be able to get in a comfortable place and then remembering to go out and have fun. The whole reason that I got into what I do is because it's so much fun. It's like a roller coaster ride that you can control. So trying to find a balance with not taking it too serious also, right? You've got to enjoy what you do. So I enjoy every day that I get in a car, even when it's not even when it's not going well. I have to remind myself, just enjoy it. It's about unlocking that potential. And one thing is just knowing that you can't change the past. It's behind you. All you can do is prepare yourself the best to shape the future. For those of you out there that are experiencing things such as failure and feeling the pain, and whether you're competitive or not, but you know that feeling of then doubting yourself or just the frustration, I think it's always good to step back and remind yourself why you're doing it, remind yourself what your goals are, and make those either mental notes or write them down. It really helps for me personally to write down, again, the reminder, what those mistakes have, what you think have led to you making those mistakes, and what are you going to do about it? And it's a challenge, actually. It's a challenge you set for yourself. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to fix it? How are you going to make sure that you're better next time, better prepared? And I honestly, I can't emphasize how important preparation is.